All right, everyone, we are here with a very special guest. We are joined by the Bachelor, Grant Ellis. Thank you so much for joining us, Grant.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. Barstool is an amazing platform, so I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Love that.
I was going to say, it was off to a great start.
Yeah, wow. Let's get this going, Grant.
Gotta compliment you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
That's very kind. Thank you. We're super excited to have you here and talk about this season and everything that's happened. I love when we get The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, like after some time has gone on, the episodes have aired, we can really talk about what's been happening. How have you been feeling since the show's been on?
Man, it's a lot,
Yeah.
It's a lot, you put yourself out there and you try new things and it's a lot, but I'm really grateful for the experience. It's been amazing, and the people that you meet and then the relationships that you form, with no spoilers, but I think that I couldn't ask for a better experience.
How do you compare the way that you were feeling at the beginning of the season airing, like, oh my gosh, my season's about to air, I'm going to have to watch it on TV, to now you've been through most of the episodes? How are you feeling between the two?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I think I'm still excited, hometowns and then fantasy suites and then the finale, but I think excitement is the main word. And then, I think maybe starting off I was a little more nervous, but now I've settled into it and I'm used to seeing myself like on TV.
Yeah, I'm sure the nerves are a little bit of a roller coaster because it's like, oh my gosh, you've seen yourself on TV before,
right?
But now this is a different setting.
So it's
like you're watching it again, and then it takes a little, plateau, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, but now we're about to reach the finale, so the nerves start maybe ramping up a little bit again.
Yeah, they ramp up, and then when I was on The Bachelorette, it's not my story, so it's very easy to not expect, I was there, you have a date, but then when you're on The Bachelor, you're the lead, it's like, it's your story. Everything you do, you're in almost every scene.
Right.
And there's
you can't fast forward.
You can't fast forward. You can't. It's like you're everywhere. So it's definitely it's a different experience.
Were there any like pressures on yourself or stories about yourself that you wanted to make sure you told as the lead?
I think just coming in there, I think my main goal was to, find a wife. And then secondary, I just wanted to set a good example. I wanted to lead with love and just be somebody who was open and was vulnerable. And, I think to show, like, I think I've cried on the show like 4 or 5 times, and then there's more to come, but it's like just to show that as a man, you could be strong, but you also, it's good to be vulnerable, just, pick and choose your times, and when, it's good to open yourself up and express yourself. So that was probably my main, one of my main things, and that was in the back of my mind,
Yeah. Were there any hesitations for you, like kind of just deciding to be the Bachelor? I know we kind of got like the announcement a little bit earlier on for the Bachelorette season, so people had time to prep and get ready and get excited for your season. When they approached you about it, what was your first initial thought?
I was so naive to the process. I was like, man, opening yourself up to public scrutiny, and you, like I said, you're the lead, so you're making all the decisions, and maybe sometimes you don't sit up straight enough, or you're doing something. And it's like I was just like, I didn't have any concerns. I was like, I'm just gonna go for it, So, and that's the way I kind of do things. And then, I think it's good to have to have confidence in yourself. Sometimes to be delusional, like your confidence, I think that's a good thing, Like I went on the show and like played the piano, and I never did that in my life before. But in my mind, I wanted to put myself out there, and then whoever I'm going to be with is going to set me for who I am, So that was a big point for me.
I do appreciate delusion of confidence sometimes, right? Like when I see someone out there doing their thing, and I'm like, you know what? I respect it. Like I respect that you can put yourself out there like that. Like for anybody who does that. Now with social media getting so much bigger from the way beginning of the show, and every season is this person here for the right reasons? That conversation comes up. How did you feel going into this, how you were going to weed out genuine versus, wrong reasons?
Well, I think that you could, unless somebody's a really good liar, which there are people out there that are, you could kind of tell who's there, for you based on interest. But then when you go on the show, you never know. You never know You never know if somebody's doing things for the show or doing things for you. But I think the longer you get to know somebody, if you click and connect and you vibe with somebody, then there's time to grow. You know,
right.
So
and maybe if somebody is there just to be on TV, but then they're like, oh wait, we have a connection.
That's what I'm saying, and I think that might be a possibility. Some people go in there like, listen, whatever happens, you know, and then you make the person like, I actually like this person.
Right. I feel like that conversation has to happen more because we've seen it, you know, on other shows as well, where someone says, you know, I went on, I thought it was a good opportunity, but then I really found a connection with this person, which is also great too.
Exactly, and like you know, with the relationship that I had with the ladies on the show, especially ones that I was really close with, like if somebody were to tell me like, listen, I don't know if I'm feeling it, like, you know, I would be like, okay, well, like I got you, like I'm not gonna put you out there, you know, I want to see you shine, do your thing, you know, but that's the type of dude I am, and I'm going on there looking for a relationship, you know, so if somebody's just open and upfront with me, I'm not gonna hold that against them, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. What's it like watching it back now? Because of course you were there for all your moments and conversations, but when you watch it back, you see the girls talking and what was going on in the house and what was being said there. Have you had any moments of like, oh, I had no idea that happened?
I mean, you kind of you have an idea of things, like, okay, being the lead, you probably see less than half of what's going on, because I say less than half because you know a little bit, but you're so busy dealing with everything else that you don't know everything that's going on. But you kind of could tell by the energy in the room on the group dates and like who the girls aren't getting along with, and then you start to put two and two together and like, okay, well, every time this is happening, this person is acting this way or that. So, but you as a lead, you have to allow for things. Well, at least for me, you can't jump to conclusion. You have to allow for things to kind of just play out. And everybody's going to have an opinion on what they feel you should do. But for me, just wanted to let things play out for as long as they could, so I could really know when I made a decision, it was the right one.
Could you tell in those earlier weeks that like it was Zoe who was kind of in the mix with the girls, getting a little like maybe salty with her for her movements?
I knew.
Yeah.
I knew, you know, with Zoe that she's the type of person, and this is why maybe some people have questions or whatever, but Zoe is somebody who put her best out there in everything she did, and she went through a lot in her life, and I saw that, she didn't pout, she didn't complain, she was there for, you know, what the main reason, you know, which was to try to form a connection, and she wouldn't let anything get in her way. So I really appreciate that about her, but you could tell. You could tell when people are there, and you could kind of put, unless you're just oblivious to, you know, so you could tell. You definitely could tell.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's because if we can sense it watching, like that first, the big basketball date when she pulled you away and you guys go back down and everyone, like, does it feel awkward in those moments?
I'm going to tell you, the most awkward thing is the group dates.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're talking to somebody and then you don't want to give too much attention. You want to like, and then everybody's like kind of competing with each other. And then my favorite time was the one-on-one time that I had, because I really get to lock in and learn about somebody and learn what they like, what they don't like, and who they are. As opposed to the group dates, it's just weird. I've never been on a group date.
I mean, yeah, right. Like, who has besides on this show?
Yeah.
But were there moments when someone would pull you away while you're talking to somebody else, and you're kind of like, I don't want to be pulled away right now, but you're trying to be respectful, trying to give everybody that time?
Yeah, I mean, of course. But that's the name of the show. You know, you as a lead, you have to. Well, there's no rules. You know what I'm saying? You could definitely tell somebody like, but I tried to give the ladies a fair chance to show me who they were.
Right.
To show me who they were, and the right person for me was going to, through any situation, unless there was clear disrespect, they were going to let the process unfold, and they know what it was, and they were going to let our connection form without being forced.
It's like can I steal you for a second, like dance off?
Yeah. Like a dance off, right?
Like it's like, so they keep coming in and then they circles back and they come back again.
Right.
So no, that and that happens all the time on the show. So I'm sure it's like you kind of have to be like, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want to, but yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's ever been. I don't know. Has there ever been somebody who's been like, no, like you can't. I don't know.
Normally the lead, I feel like, is like, okay, or they're like, let me give me 30 seconds to say goodbye. And
exactly, because if they were to say, no, right? Like you have to do it in a polite way, which would be like, hey, give me a couple seconds and whatever. But if they say no, it's sort of like, well, if you were interested in that person, you would get up now and go talk to them. And it
sends a message to the rest of the group that you are really interested in the person.
Kind of closed off a little bit.
Yeah. How did you feel watching these moments back the last couple of weeks with Carolina and kind of the attitude that maybe she was having in the house versus maybe talking to you? I don't know if you did seem to pick up on her energy.
Yeah.
In the dates and those things, and obviously it was causing issues in the house of how she was acting. What'd you kind of think watching it back?
Watching it back was definitely interesting, to say the least. It was interesting. My thing was, you kind of know what you're here. You know what you sign up for. You know what this is. But it's like, an analogy is like if you're in a house and you're like, oh, if somebody breaks down the door, I'm going to go and fight them. And then it actually happens. And then you're like, oh shit, like you don't know what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. So in the situation, you can go in the Bachelor and say, I'm going to keep my composure. But then when it happens, you might catch feelings and you might, so that's why it's when you're on TV like that, it's like staring in the mirror. It reveals your character. And it reveals who you are, and it's not only for you to see, it's for everybody to see.
It can really strip you down.
It can strip you down.
You don't have any of the outside devices. You're closed off from the rest of the world.
You're closed off from the rest of the world, and then you're making every decision you make is on you. You know, and you can't take it back. Yeah. So, just seeing some of that, it was surprising. I kind of, I picked up on some things, but like I said, I tried to diffuse situations and I didn't want people to really feel like they were being isolated or like ostracized, and I just didn't want that, so I tried to really be like a mediator.
Was it sorry, go ahead. Was it tough because you guys did have a really great one-on-one date, and then how were you feeling in the moment, being like, why how is she not remembering that we do have
that? Was the hardest thing for me, and honestly that was the downfall of I'm not going to say downfall, but that was where things took a turn, because we had such a great date. Like, we took a private jet, and our personalities were very similar. Like, we joke around. We both, we're beatboxing. We're making jokes, and we got our own handshake, and we're doing this little headbutt thing, and then we jump off a building. So going back, I was like, wow, this person is like this person could be my friend. I can see myself like joking around with this person and being myself around them, and then to go back and hear, the questioning, and then not only questioning the process, kind of questioning you, and I think that it hurt,
right. But it'll be interesting to see what she says during the women tell all, because I also feel like sometimes women throw that up as a defense mechanism, because I bet you her feelings were there, and she was like, but I don't even know him, like you're kind of like you're trying to be like tough guy a little bit to protect yourself. I kind of feel like maybe that's what she was going through.
And did you find it a little bit disorienting watching, being like, well, we have this connection, but this is how she's acting with the ladies, and like you feel like almost like you think you know somebody, but then you're watching, you're like, wait, maybe I really don't know that person. And something too, not everybody, I'm not going to say not everybody's built for it's some people are,
not everybody is built for that.
That is true. It's very true.
It's true.
It's true. It's nothing against Carolina. Like, I think that, that environment is hard. You just form a connection, and you got to watch somebody go on a date, and then they may be talking to you or showing you attention, and then the next day they're not.
Yep. So
you have to really be secure in yourself. Really secure in yourself and who you are and what you provide and what you offer. And it's not, as I said, it's not for everybody. Some people unravel during it, and that's just what happens.
Totally. So we just watched you go on some hometown dates, and I will say all seemed pretty great. Like, everybody's family was pretty open and welcoming. Did you feel that way going in? What were your nerves like going into hometowns?
It's nervous. I'm pretty good with families. Like, I'm chill. I'm not like. But going in there, you always have to meet people's moms and dads and brothers and uncles.
Right, and, if you're Juliana or her entire extended family.
Everybody, you mean everybody. So it's nervous, but I just went in there. I said, I'm going to be myself, and whoever accepts me for me is going to accept me. That's the person that I'm probably going to end up with. So, at that point, I had connections, and meeting the family was something that was going to be a big tell-all for me.
What was your confidence level like with specifically Zoe? Because I think a lot of people were like, wow, this is kind of crazy that she's getting a hometown and you really hadn't had that. You know, she didn't get a one-on-one date and you went on, then you take her for hometowns. I think people were really surprised by that. So how did you feel about your connection like with Zoe at that point?
Yeah, I thought that Zoe, I saw a lot of potential in Zoe, and from the beginning how she came off a certain way, but I realized that it stemmed from, you know, some things that maybe happened in her childhood, and she was, you know, maybe it caused her to be a little defensive or on the offense at certain times, because she knows she probably had been an underdog before, where she's coming from, living in the South, being a black woman. So I saw that and I was like, okay, this person, regardless of what anybody that's watching the show thinks of our connection, I know I see something in her that has resilience and that I could relate to. So I that was the basis of my decision, and then hometowns would have been a good tell of if we could build on our connection.
Yeah, right. Why do you think you didn't give her a one-on-one before that?
Because earlier on she was a little bit, I'm not going to say she was closed off.
Yeah.
But it seemed to me that she was closed off. And then our final 2 conversations, she started to open up to me, and then I started to understand. I was like, wow, okay, well, this is why she was like that.
Yeah.
Or this is why. And then I was like, I started to see her for who she was. And then I felt that she did, not to say deserved, but like she was somebody I could see myself understanding.
And to not even have a one-on-one, but to feel like the connection is so strong there to go to hometowns just speaks volumes in itself.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes. And to be so, if that would have happened to,
and for her too, she's strong. Like,
right.
yeah.
If that would have happened to somebody else, they would have been like, well, I'm not. And she was like, you know what? I'm gonna see where this could go. And it's like, who doesn't want somebody strong like that? So.
Yeah, definitely. It can always be interesting blending families, blending faith. Religion was a big thing when you had Latia's meeting her family, and she talked to you about, you know, growing up in the Mormon faith, and that's, you know, part of her family.
Right.
What were your thoughts about that? I feel like that's got to be maybe the most nerve-wracking thing.
Yeah, that was nerve-wracking coming in there. And too, you know, like I understand why. I understand why she waited until that moment to tell me, because that's something big. It's something really big. And not to say I was nervous, I just didn't know about the Mormon faith. I didn't know what it entails, but I knew at that point that we had a connection and something as far as a belief system. You know, it does play a big role, but it's not everything. You know, you get to know somebody and you never know what could happen. So it was something that was big news to me, but I was at that point, like I'm really open to it. Open to it.
Especially when their family's also open to other beliefs as well.
Right.
There was a strong reaction to her waiting to tell you from the people watching. Do you feel kind of the opposite of that? Like you just said, you were like, you understand why she waited.
That's a good question. I understand why she waited because, you know, something like that, when you're going on a show, you don't want to, that something could put a wrench in a relationship. And if you do it right off the jump, then maybe she didn't want that to happen.
And people sort of might label her right at the beginning rather than waiting to, you know.
Exactly. Or you go in there and you just right off the jump, you know what I'm saying? And this is who I am, this is what it is. And then by the time you get to hometowns, if I'm still here, then, you know what I'm saying? But either way, there's a method behind both of them. So like I said, I understand why she did it. And yeah, I get it.
Was it disappointing that Dena's family didn't want to, you know, kind of be involved in the process?
I think I felt more for her.
Yeah.
In that journey, because for me, like I said, I like, family is big, but at the end of the day, the relationship is between you and the person. But I wanted her to feel supported. And when I saw her friend show up, I was like, okay. But at first when she told me, I was like, man, that sucks, because not so much about how it's just about like on a big moment like that for your family not to be there. And that hurts, you know.
Yeah, and I'm sure it really hurt for her too, the way she's feeling.
Right. Right. And then everybody else's family is there, and then like I'm not knocking it, like but I just felt that I'm like, man, everybody else's family is there, and you know, I felt for her in that moment.
So because she went home, I feel like it is easy for people to jump to like, oh, well, her family didn't show up.
Right.
What was kind of the deciding factor of her being the one sent home? Did that come into play or no?
No, her family not being there, it wasn't that. I think with Dena, it was a new dynamic of a relationship. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to compatibility. Like things that I was looking for, Dena had, but there was a level of emotional connection that I was looking for that I felt like in that time wasn't there. And it wasn't there with Zoe either. But with Zoe, I felt like down the road, because of certain circumstances she went through in her life, I could relate more to her and I could kind of unlock that in her. As opposed to Dena, I didn't know how much I didn't know.
The potential seemed to be there a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah, it didn't seem to be there, and I just made the decision based off of that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
Now, going into the woman tell all, what can we expect?
I don't know. I know there's going to be some feelings towards me, and as the lead, being the Bachelor, it's very hard to escape without any cuts and bruises. So just me going in there and just being humble and realizing that, you know what, I'm a man, I make mistakes, but I did the best I could and I try to lead with love. And, I hope that you guys felt that, and just trying to diffuse any situations where people may have not ill will, but like any intention, any feelings towards me, just trying to explain what I was thinking.
Right. It's like you can really only do so much with like all of their relationships. It's like your connections with them, you can talk out. Ladies, you kind of have to
let them hash it out.
Let them hash it out. Let them hash it out.
What what has been also kind of funny, Rhea, is that I've gotten messages of people being like, Grant does the women.
Oh yeah, I'm getting a lot about that.
She does it too.
I have
and everyone's like, oh, Grant does the same thing Rhea does. I
have to literally force it out of my mouth. I'm like, women.
Wait, so what is the discrepancy with that? Is it?
It's when you mean to say women,
like a group of women.
I say woman.
Yeah.
I say like singular.
Yeah, like
when
singular.
I learned when it's a group, it's like WIMEN. That's how you pronounce it. Women.
I started.
No, I'm telling you, but like I'm telling myself too. You know what I mean? Yeah. All the women. Oh no, all the ladies in the group. Yeah, right. It's just it flows out. No, trust me, I feel you.
I started saying women. I started saying women.
Yeah.
And then I understand.
No, trust me, I feel you. Okay. Like I'm trying hard.
Yeah. It does. Yes. No, that was fun. That was a funny connection that some people make. Yeah.
Women.
Yeah.
It's crazy how people pick up. When people will literally
the smallest things.
The smallest thing.
Yeah.
I know, especially being from Long Island. Some of the words I just say it a little bit.
Yeah, you're from New Jersey. Yeah,
right. It just happens, and you're like, this is how it's gonna be.
I remember I came down the steps with Alex. I was like, "What's up, girl?" And people were like, "He said, what's up, girl?" Like, who does he think he is? I was like, "Well, just the way I talk."
You're like, "That's how I talk."
Literally how I talk.
You're like, I don't know. I'm on a date.
I'm on a date. I'm just chilling.
Right. Just trying to be myself here.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not only have you had meeting these women, sharing these relationships, you're also opening about your own family, your own, childhood and growing up and those connections. What's it been like kind of sharing your family stories, especially, your relationship with your dad?
Yeah, I think that was one of the most beautiful things of this season for me, being so open about it. It was like therapy for me, I think, and like, I don't want to be that guy that it'd be like, men should go to therapy, but I think that a lot of guys hold things in, me being one of them. And then when you don't, you take it out, it ends up being taken out on people that you love. Mm-hmm. If you hold things in for too long, something go wrong. And then one day you're just cursing people out or doing something because you need to at least be able to talk about your feelings and, so that you're more emotionally aware of like where you're at. So during the season, I'm sitting behind the camera and I'm being asked certain questions and about my life and that I've held in for like 18 years. So I'll be like, whoa, I didn't like my father and this, and then I start tearing up and crying, and then he comes on the show and I'm like, oh, what the hell, So it's crazy. I think that it was like it opened my eyes to how, the importance of therapy and talking about your feelings.
For sure.
No, that's great.
Yeah, and when you start like crying about something when you're talking about it, sometimes you can really realize like, oh wait, this really does affect me. Right?
It's still there.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. You're like, it's nice to talk it out. And you're doing it on a much bigger scale with a massive audience, which can be super impactful and help a lot of people too, which is always great. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. And we are so excited to see how this plays out. We got Zoe, Latia, Juliana headed into that final. Yep. We have one more question, thanks to Armani Beauty. I know you can't reveal too much because, no spoilers or anything, but we see the teasers. We see that it seems like you're really like, the headspace is tough. Mm-hmm. I think there was one line in the teaser that was like, will this be my downfall? Something like that. I was like, downfall. That doesn't sound great. What can you say about, how this is going to come to an end?
Yeah, I think that it's just a testament to how great the women were, the ladies were.
Yeah. I said that. Sorry, now I called you out for it.
The ladies were, and, being the second Black Bachelor ever, there's an extra added level of pressure that comes with it. But ultimately, you make a decision on what is the best thing for you. And with the two ladies that were there at the end, they were so great. They were honestly one of a kind. Mm. Like, I don't know where casting got them. I don't know where they came from, but they were one of a kind, and it just added I just need a little more time to flesh things out.
And that's you're like, the privilege of time isn't one you really get on this.
You don't really
on the show as much, but we can't wait to see how this plays out. Yep. Grant, thank you so much. Yes, honestly, it's going to be tonight that everyone can watch the Women Tell All and see what happens there. And then we're really looking forward to the finale next week.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us and chatting with us.
Yeah, thank you, Grant.
Guys. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you. I appreciate it.